So this is something totally different. Kristin, you guys have met a few times now and you know. So she came to me with the idea of starting a podcast. So we are starting a podcast called Stumblin Forward. And it's going to be all about just kind of the journey through life when you're in the middle of it, as opposed to looking back when you're successful. We're going to have some guests on here and talk about different things. But I thought I also want to share this with you guys. So we're going to kind of record the video and take it as we go. And
first time recording it, I YouTube or podcast intro YouTube. What's the proper term?
There isn't one. You are correct. We actually already created our first podcast, but it was in the car on the way up to Yosemite. We got inspired. So I will include the link. You guys can check that one out. But this is our official put together, planned out.
Let's start something.
Sort of planned out, not really planned out.
Yeah, like this is the first one where like we actually did schedule it. I feel like an adult.
We did. It was in my calendar. That's
right. Like popped up on my phone.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh.
I do think we should start scheduling these later in the day so we can have wine. I think it's going to make it way more interesting.
Yeah. I was like, Saturday works because, it's before work. And I'm like, now I'm drinking tea. And like, that's not.
I know. I texted her and I was like, we should drink wine. And she was like, at noon?
For me, it's 2:13 right now.
Oh.
And I'm like, I have work at 5. I guess I could have a glass of wine, but then I have evidence against me. So.
Fair enough. We'll schedule some at night and we'll drink wine, especially when we have guests. I think it'd be really fun.
Yeah. I think it'd be fun. I think there's a lot of people that we could have on here to talk about like their paths and what they want to do. But today, aren't we talking about you? We're going to talk about Monica and Monica Goes and how she ever, thought about it and got started and all the questions that everyone has.
Yeah, just kind of starting a business, and especially when you didn't plan on it being a business and what that journey's kind of been like. So that's the plan.
Cool. Should we jump right into that though? Or should we are we doing some sort of,
We can get there and then let's start the podcast part now.
Sweet.
I'll let you start this one.
All right. So we're going to start. This is Monica Ortega talking about how she started her own web series called Monica Goes, the Monica Goes show. Is it, or just Monica Goes? How do you feel like?
Well, it's called Monica Goes, but then on all of the social media, it's Monica Goes show.
Got it. And how'd you decide on Monica Goes?
Oh man, the name is like the worst part, I think, of starting a business.
Because you don't know what you're going to decide.
Yeah, and I liked so many things. I was like, do I do country? Do I do outdoors? Like, how do I incorporate all of the things that I love and do? And I spent like weeks making lists and crossing them out and going back and forth. And, finally a friend of mine was like, you just have to pick something.
Yeah, and I was never going to get off, right? Like never going to get off the ground.
It was actually my ex-husband that came up with the name, and it made sense because it works for everything. Like I could just plug in, Monica Goes and does this or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of it at first because it's weird to say your own name. I don't know. It's still weird for me. And like, even now people be like, Monica goes to the bathroom. And like, shout it out whenever I do anything. And I'm like, yep.
I am going. Please stop.
But it's good too, because it obviously means it's catching on, but it's been a weird journey trying to get used to the name for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. And then when you started it, usually everyone thinks about the finances of it, because you were initially going for national parks and like local hikes. And then you started to expand more into these excursions. And how did that start to happen?
Yeah, well, again, I didn't really plan on it being a business. So the way it kind of came about is I took a hosting class, and I was told, nowadays with social media, what you need to do is film yourself hosting to get auditions, just to have like a link to send people to do auditions. So I took my phone and I started hiking because that's what I love to do. And she kind of said, like, create a dream show for you. Like, what would you love to see? And I'm like, well, the outdoors, that's what I love. So I took my phone, started hiking, filming myself. Didn't really plan on it being anything. And financially at the time, it was a good time to start because I had just done 2 commercials.
Okay.
So as I started deciding I wanted to travel more and do more things, it was out of pocket, which was great that I had the finances at the time, but in hindsight, I would have done it completely differently because I didn't plan on it being a business. I didn't budget anything out. I didn't really think about it, and that funding ran out very quickly.
So it was more like I need content, just like when you're an actor and you're like, okay, let me just shoot my own demo reel. You would just write a scene and then shoot it and on your own dime, and then like go from there. But then you realized how much you loved hosting your own content, right?
Yeah, and I did want it to be all outdoors and more national parks and things like that. As it's grown and opportunities have come up in other areas, it's definitely expanded into cities, parks, a lot of different things. But also, yeah, those are financially a little bit more tricky to do the parks. Just but I still definitely work them in because that's where my heart is. So if I could do things outdoors, that's my favorite.
Nice. So when did the Instagram and Twitter and everything else come in? Did you just start that right away?
I did, but it was literally me Googling, like, how do I use Twitter? How do I use Instagram? So again, I didn't
still Googling that.
No, I do too. It keeps changing. But I didn't really know what I was doing. And with the outdoors, I mean, photos are just kind of naturally beautiful. I definitely think my photography's gotten better for sure. But it was easy just to post these beautiful photos of mountains and things. Twitter was more interesting because I learned about chats. It was like the big thing to make connections doing Twitter chats. So I started participating in those, made a lot of amazing contacts that I still keep in touch with and some I'm friends with.
Cool. All from California or from different parts?
From all over. So that's actually how I met Jack Stewart from Rock the Park.
Okay.
Was we were part of a park chat, which is national parks. I got involved with Teton Sports from Hiker Chat. And then I started my own. So I started Adventure Chat that was Mondays at 10 a.m. for like the first 3 years, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was a great way to kind of get into that world and meet a lot of people. Actually, one of the people from that chat came out last year on Thanksgiving with his family to take me stand-up paddleboarding because they wanted to meet me.
That's so cool.
I know. So it's been a crazy thing, and social media still is blowing my mind.
That was a video, right? The stand-up paddleboarding? Was that
Yeah. It wasn't like an official episode, but we filmed it for sure. And we had like the action camera on the stand-up paddleboard.
Awesome. I actually would have never thought about Twitter being that connective because it's all verbal and like there's no images, like you can't see the people. Like Facebook and Instagram, it's like you see what they're doing. With Twitter, everything is just chat, like it's a chat room. So.
Yeah, I've learned a lot about the different platforms and how to use them. And obviously I'm still working on that, but like Twitter is used for conversations. It's used in a conversation way. And, Instagram is visual and Facebook's kind of a little bit of everything. LinkedIn is for business connections. So you just kind of start catering whatever you're posting to the platform you're on.
Cool. And is it hard to keep everything on track or do you feel like... You seem to be doing a pretty good job of it.
Oh man, if you had any idea. So as I'm learning more about business and how people do stuff, I'm realizing so much of it is automated with people that know what they're doing.
Yeah.
As opposed to me that's like on it way too often just trying to keep up. So I'm kind of starting to shift and try to like schedule some stuff out. I don't participate in a lot of the chats anymore, which I really miss. I just genuinely don't have the time for it. But I pop in every now and then, especially like if somebody tags me in one, I'm like, oh, there's a chat going on, and I'll jump on. But yeah, keeping up with the social media is a lot, especially when there's so many different platforms. I just jumped on Pinterest again, so I'm trying to build that one up now, and yeah, it's a lot.
Pinterest is, Pinterest is hard because I feel like people just go on it, just random searches. I don't actually follow anybody on Pinterest, but I love Pinterest.
So Pinterest, I listened to a podcast that was talking about how it's like a Google search. It's not considered a social media platform. It's more considered a search engine.
Yeah.
So it's a great way for me to like post my blogs and have somebody click on what we just did, the 10 great gift ideas. Well, we're coming up to Christmas time, so people might go, what's a good Christmas gift idea for a traveler? Boom, all of a sudden they're on my website. So it's a way to just kind of get traffic over there. I haven't quite figured it out yet, but I just jumped back on that this week.
I read a lot of blogs on Pinterest more than anything. Pausing for a second, you're frozen on my screen. How am I on yours?
You're fine. Is it a flattering or unflattering face?
It was pretty unflattering, I'm not gonna lie. But you're fine now, you're moving.
The YouTube part's going to be hilarious for whoever ends up watching this on YouTube. It's going to be like,
yeah, they're going to be like, whoa, what's happening? I don't know, because I mean, if you're going to post it, then I guess it works out if we're moving. But with me, you're frozen again like this. So, I don't know. Am I moving? You're not
moving fine. What's going on with my connection?
No, it's probably mine. My house was built in like 1955 and the internet does not work very well in here. So I'm going to leave it up to you. Like, it's fine if I'm moving.
All right. If not, we'll just, we'll put like a pretty headshot over the frozen faces.
It's okay.
I need to like cuts to our like glamour cuts.
Yeah, I just didn't want us to keep talking if you were just like freezing on me. But if I'm good, then I'm good.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
Okay, so that's cool though. Like, social media is a big thing that everybody wonders about. They're just like, how do you get so many followers, and how do you stay connected so frequently when you have like a real, like, you know, a full-time job as well as doing creative, you know, on the side. So that's always like the big question I'm sure you get. Do you have like top 3 questions that people always ask you, or?
I think the big things that I always get asked are, how do you afford to travel? That's probably number 1. How to start a YouTube show, and maybe how to do social media. That would probably be the other one, like how to build up a following.
Right. Yeah. And I think like you've answered pretty much all of those. Financially, it is about, you know, working on something else on the side, as well as like, you know, still working on the content you want. You have many different ways that you can reel in the money with, like, photography was a big thing, Instagram, you know.
Yeah, I think it's been interesting, especially because I'll go to these conferences and talk to other people that do a YouTube show as well. And we all make money in very different ways. So I think it's finding out what works for you. Yeah. And again, I didn't think of it as a business when I started. So there's somebody in the background. Hey, I think it was mail.
It's not. I actually don't know what that was. And I'm kind of like, no, my parents are not here. I'm alone.
Ghost. No, it looks like a mailman.
You're right. I have a lot of windows. And the mailman just like comes right to see everything.
There's just like a shadow in the back there.
Like,
anyway,
this turned into a horror movie. Anyway,
it goes viral. Anyway.
If I get murdered, you'll let me.
I'm gonna post it.
That's terrible.
I'm just kidding. Sort of. Anyway. No, so one thing I would do in hindsight is, because I didn't really think of it as a business, like I said, I was not budgeting, I was not financially savvy with like thinking of long-term plans. So, but true to form, most businesses lose money the first year, break even the second year, and start making money in the third or fourth year. So I'm coming into the fourth year now, and it's starting to make money.
Yeah.
So we're good. But it's come in different ways. I mean, Instagram posts for sure, but those are kind of few and far between. I'm really looking at trying to find some companies that I love that I can work with more long-term.
Yeah.
You know, just to build up those relationships, and then they're not one-offs, and it's not just to like sell a product and be done. Like I truly have stuff that I love to use and want to
sponsorships.
Yeah.
More so like people who
sponsorships.
Yeah.
Tourism boards have been great for us because my show is more hosted than a vlog. So that's been good. And now that with your videography and photography skills, we've kind of upped our game a bit. Yeah, it's magic. So yeah, that's been the financial component of it. And I'm still trying to figure that out for sure. But yeah, a lot of hustling.
That is the big thing, and that's why, we were talking about this podcast in the beginning. Stumblin Forward is like, you're figuring it out. You're
100%.
to understand business. And people have gone for business degrees, and then there are some who have not. They've gone for creative degrees, and then they realize that they want to get into something that is a business.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like, the gist of pretty much everything. So where do you want to go from here? Like, what is your goal for year 5? Or are you going into your next 4th year or going into your 5th year?
It'll be 4 years, December 19th. So I'm coming up on 4 years.
Okay. Coming up on 4 years.
Yeah. December 2014. Yeah. 4 years.
Math.
Took me a minute. My goal now is to kind of hone in on the business and treating it as such. I'm going to try to get, it registered as an LLC and have some more protection put in place.
What is LLC?
Don't ask me what it stands.
Don't ask me.
I need to figure that out. No, it basically means
Write that down.
It would basically mean that I'm a legit business, that I have some protection, but I also pay to have the taxes are different, things like that.
It means legitimate company. LLC.
LLC. For anybody, this is why we're all about learning as we go. A limited liability company. Oh. So basically a private company, sole proprietorship.
So like a real company.
Yeah. So just to have some protection put in place. And I'm trying to organize things because, like I said, I've just kind of been trying to play catch up and flailing for 4 years now. So the goal is to have some trips planned out going into the new year, to start automating some of the social media stuff, start batch working blogs and videos so that I'm ahead of the game instead of constantly trying to play catch up.
Question, going back to the beginning, like your first 2 years or so, what was your job that made you your money? Like, you had the commercials that held you over, and
then I also was a server at a restaurant. So I've been a server for 20 years.
Really? 20 years?
20 years. Oh God, I just aged myself. Started at Pizza Hut when I was 15 years old.
I love Pizza Hut. They don't have a lot of those around anymore.
I know, especially not like where you go in and it's a restaurant.
Yeah.
But, I worked in restaurants for about 20 years. So that's what I was doing on the side, and which was great for the flexibility too, like for acting, for all of it. I teach line dancing as well. I hosted music festivals. I sang in cover bands. So just a lot of different hustle. And now I quit the restaurant in May, and now I do Instacart, which is kind of like Postmates for groceries. So basically personal grocery shopping, which is great because it's even more flexible, and I can literally choose however many hours I want each day. And
that's a great gig.
Yeah.
Sweet. So what were we talking about? Sorry, I just wanted to bring it back to that, and then we were talking about where you were going and where you wanted to be. So
I think I think we should talk about the 3 questions. You asked me the 3 questions that I get the most. So we kind of talked about the finances, how to afford travel. And it's definitely also being frugal with the travel and figuring out, camping and road trips and ways to do things. And
like if we are going to do like an excursion of some sort, it usually is going to have, I don't want to say it's like a sponsor, but it's taken care of because we're covering.
Yeah, we give them the material, we give them social media,
business
shout outs and stuff. So that's a great way to get started into it. But also, I don't know. I believe if you want to travel, you'll find a way to do it. Like that's kind of with anything, I don't buy a lot of clothes. I don't, get my hair cut as often as I should. Like I don't. So basically my hygiene suffers, but I travel. Not to say. No. But yeah, you find a way to do it. So that's kind of the financial portion of it. And then what were the other questions I said I always get?
It was social media. How do you travel like financially, and how do you start a YouTube channel?
Okay.
And start
So social media, like I said, I had to Google it. I had to figure it out as I went. But so much of it's just about interacting with each other and
Mhm.
not just using people for numbers, like actually having conversations, actually meeting people on Twitter and joining in on those chats and
Safely.
yeah, jumping in on other people's Instagram posts to comment that you actually love it. So that's a big part of it. It does take a lot of time, but if you like it, then it's part of the job, and I like to support other people that are doing this as well. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the social media, which has been a slow grow for sure, but it's getting there.
Yeah.
And then, oh my gosh, I need more coffee. What is it? Starting a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So I just got picked to be a speaker at the Women in Travel Summit, and this is kind of what I'm going to talk about: is starting a show, starting a channel.
Mhm.
But I think so many people, we worry about like the equipment or the name or like all of these other things. And honestly, I'm a true believer in just learning through the process of doing,
Yeah.
as opposed to, trying to have everything in place and like watching all these experts going, I need it to be like that. And
Yeah.
so like I said, I started with my iPhone. I started with Windows Movie Maker, and I had a friend actually, after I did the hike, I was like, I don't know how to edit though. So I kept putting it off again for like weeks. I'm putting it off. And my friend Matt said, I'm going to come over and I'm going to do my own work on my laptop, and you're going to edit. You're going to figure it out. You're going to Google it. You're going to figure it out, but I'm not leaving your apartment until you have an
It's
episode.
done.
Yeah.
What a good friend.
Yeah, it's not like he was there to help me edit. He was like, I'm just going to sit on the couch doing my own thing, but I'm not leaving here until you put it together.
Because it really is like, especially when you're using such a user-friendly editing system like Windows or iMovie, it is quite easy.
Well, there's so much information out there you can
Yeah.
find on YouTube, and you can read blogs and get the basics. But yeah, it's just pushing buttons and figuring it out as you go.
Yeah. And it comes like with practice, just like anything,
Yeah.
you know?
So I switched to iMovie, and now I use Final Cut Pro. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think you just got to do it. I think you got to learn as you go and make a lot of mistakes and learn from them. And
Yeah.
shifting.
Have like good content coming out regularly. That's what I've read
Yeah.
with channels, is having it, make sure if you're gonna have it out on a certain day, like you have yours out on Mondays, you need to have it out on Mondays, you know?
Yeah, and in hindsight, I definitely would have done more videos because
Mhm.
I was so worried about it being episodes and having these put together travel videos.
Mhm.
But I was only releasing one a month because it took me so long to edit when I started. And I
Mhm.
should have been filming behind the scenes, the struggling, the Googling, the Twitter, all those little steps that you take as you get going. I could have
Yeah.
been filming that. And I personally find that useful too, watching other people start
Oh
the
yeah.
process and learn. So I do a little bit of that now. I do more like behind the scenes stuff. Um, but now my episodes are every 2 weeks, and then there's like random videos kind of in between that time. But that's when I noticed a big shift on YouTube, was when I started making videos 3-4 times a week,
Yeah.
once a
Yeah.
month.
And also spreading it out to Facebook, right? I think that was most recent. Like,
Yeah, I was so surprised. I've been working so hard to build up YouTube, and then I thought, let me just post a video direct to Facebook, and it got like 6,000 views, and I was like,
yeah,
whoa, like how have I
like
never
that
done
was easy.
Facebook? So
Yeah.
what's great now is I have 68 episodes that one by one I can start posting to Facebook.
Right? You can just start like, doing like a marathon week or something and just like posting each
Who wants to binge
episode.
watch?
Yeah, right. And now you have how many followers on YouTube? Like 1,075, I think I saw last.
Yeah, something like that. And then
Yeah.
Instagram is like 26,000, and Twitter I think is like 12,000.
Nice.
Yeah, it's around like 45,000 total, I think. But another thing that's helped me is getting noticed by the bigger companies. So even if they only use it as a one-off, like getting featured on USA Today's 10 Best and Matador Network, and all of those things are great as well when we're pitching ourselves to tourism boards, because we've got we've got credits and we've got testimonials from people that say, hey, they're actually pretty good.
It's actually good
Yeah.
content. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to like tell someone who's starting out, or someone who like is kind of stuck and doesn't know what to do with, like, if they want to start one?
Yeah, I would say one, just start practicing and do it. But also don't feel like you have to know everything all at once. Like, and I still struggle with that because I'm like, I want 5 hours to build up Instagram and 3 hours to work on it. Like, there's just not enough time.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish I would have done batch working ahead of time, meaning to like edit, like do a bunch of blogs at once, do a bunch of videos at once. Because I'm very scatterbrained. So I tend to be like, I'm editing, I'm on Instagram, I'm checking an email, now I'm pitching. And then by the end of the day, everything's kind of half done.
Yeah.
That's something I'm personally working on, but I wish I would have done that from the beginning. So that's some advice I would give to somebody.
Yeah.
But really just practice, just do it and learn as you go, and like support the people that are doing it as well, and create a community. And
Nice. I think the best thing that you've told me in this conversation is reaching out to others, talking to other people, doing your research, even if it is just Google, just doing your research on your own on what you can do, being creative, taking the class, just even in the beginning, like you knew you wanted to try hosting, so you took a class, and that's where you started. And it's just like, don't be afraid to just try what you want to do. There's
a fine line. Like, I think this is where the balance part really comes in, is there's this fine line of taking classes and Googling and reading and researching everybody's stuff. And at some point you have to stop and do.
Yeah.
So there's that fine line. And then there's also, yes, there's all this free content out there and that's great. But at some point it gets overwhelming and you need help. So the biggest thing that I've done recently was hire a business coach. And I don't know that I would recommend that right off the bat for people, but I do wish I would have done it about 2 years ago.
Yeah. They keep you on track. They keep you in line. They
give you I was just so overwhelmed with so many different things, and she's kind of helped me streamline what I need to be focused on and what's making you money. We need to focus on that, as opposed to, and it's not all about the money, but making it more of a business and figuring out how to make it more long-term and sustainable. And
well, that is the shift though. The shift is remembering that even though it's something that you love and it's something creative, keeping that, but also having the mindset, it's a business. It needs to make you money if you want it to be sustainable with something that you love. And it doesn't mean that that's something that consumes your thoughts, but it is something that needs to be on the forefront. So
if somebody wanted to start a show, I would say, number one, figure out what you want your goal to be with the show.
Yeah.
What are you putting out there? What's the goal of the show? And is it for fun? Is it for business? What are you sharing with people and why?
Yeah. If it is strictly for fun, then, more power to you.
And that's great.
Put it out there. Not like, no problem. If you want it to be a business and a full-time career, then that's something else, So, yeah. Well, thanks, Monica.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
I'm glad we got this done.
And there's
Hi, Millie. That's Millie.
This is Millie, my adventure dog. For anybody listening to the podcast, you can't see her, but just trust me, she's cute.
Yeah, if you're listening. All right. And we'll edit right there.
Hold on. Thank you guys for tuning in. This has been Stumblin Forward. We're going to have all sorts of topics like this in the future as well. Sorry, I'll put Millie down.
Millie's the one who's typing. She's like,
Millie is going to be doing all of the editing.
She's the cutest editor ever.
No, but if you guys have any topics that you want to hear about when it comes to business, when it comes to life, anything like that, let us know. Yeah. And, it gives us some ideas of what you want to hear, and we'll try to find some guests and do podcasts like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, guys.
All right.
I'm
See you guys. Bye, Monica. Oh, wait, go to Monica Goes. Go to Monica Goes.
Yeah, don't forget to subscribe to Monica Goes, and to follow on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook and
all the good stuff. It's at Monica Goes Show.
yeah, anything that you would like to follow. And our, her episodes are all listed and yeah.
And Kristin's the best producer ever, by the way. It's not just me. I know I talk about the show like from my point of view, but Kristin.
No, but it is her point of view. This is gonna go. It is your point of view. You started it. She hired me on, and we're doing great. So,
all right. We'll talk to you guys later.
Bye. And then